What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 138 of the Rise to Glory here with Gibraltar Apex. And today we kick off season 20 officially with the start of season live con, which isn't for once going to be a Champions League game. Instead, we are back for the Pepe Reyes Cup final. Of course, this is the Community Shield equivalent. It'll become apparent why we're doing this as the live com as this episode goes onwards. But of course, with a new season, new signings, new stuff going on. And yeah, it's been a pretty good off-season. I feel like we've made some progress with the team. I was kind of happy with the squad at the end of last season in terms of the core of it. And as a result, I haven't made that many first-team signings. Instead, what I've tried to do is pick up some really good youngsters who will, well, firstly classify as homegrown for Europe, because that's something that we have had a problem with over the last few years, but will also hopefully develop into some useful first-team players and kind of be the next generation of Gibraltar Apex players. So anyway, let's have a look at the transfers to begin with. And if we look at them here, there's a few. Of course, you guys know about Krzysztof Wolski. I talked about that last episode. If you missed last episode, episode 137, highly recommend it. It was a double testimonial special. It was a kind of a fun episode, a bit of a slightly different, more laid-back game. And yeah, it was good fun. But this guy did make a little bit of a cameo there, Wolski. And I really like the look of this guy. Polish, 22 years old. I know for a number of years people have been going on to me in the comments about trying to sign a good defensive midfielder, and the truth of the matter has been, simply put, that there aren't that many good defensive midfielders who want to join me. A lot of them already play for top European sides, and, well, you guys know in this save, we've had to kind of try and sign players from kind of second tier European sides. And while CSKA Moscow, perhaps not necessarily second tier, they did reach the final of the Champions League a few years ago, they are a team who we can kind of lure players away from, and Wolski was one of those. He's a very good centre mid, good deep line playmaker, perhaps a long-term replacement for Bouchard. Certainly for now at least we'll play alongside him. And yeah, a really good player to get in. Anyway, the next player we have in Tuzon, we just signed him on a free because we could. His contract was running out, decided just to bring him back. He'll be a useful little tutor. He is actually tutoring a few players at the moment. I say a few players. He's tutoring one player at the moment. So that's good to see, and nice to have, you know, an old player back. The next player we have, Alex Basong, a player who you guys may recognise. He was playing for us a few years ago. He actually left us to go to College Europa for £48,000, and, well, at the end of his contract there, he decided to leave on a free, and I wanted to keep him gaining Gibraltarian nationality. And so, oh gosh, he reset. God damn it. Well, anyway, the plan was that I was going to sign him to make sure he could become a Gibraltarian citizen. As I've just noticed, it turns out that reset. But either way, we brought him in on a free, and kind of funnily, he has now gone back to College Europa on loan. So they released him, and then he's gone back to them on loan. I mean, FM logic right there. Anyway, the next player, the first of a lot of young players we brought in fact, this guy, the most expensive of the kind of younger players, Luca Veronese. This guy, 16 years old, goalkeeper. You'll already see his determination is kind of skyrocketing. That is because he's being tutored. I can't remember if it's Ludwig Young who's tutoring him or Felix. It's one of the two. And yeah, he's developing a lot already, but this guy, 16 years old, Italian, has the potential to be a quality player. A few pros and a few cons. It's kind of natural. He's a very young player, but I think he can improve a lot in the future. That is certainly what my scouts were suggesting. And yeah, a very good player. And not the only 16-year-old, in fact, that we signed. You know, his aerial reach, perhaps a little bit of a concern, but he has good jumping reach. And at 16, he's got a lot of time to develop into a really good goalkeeper. Anyway, the next player we have in, a bit of a backup option, Ernesto Martinez. This guy, the Mexican, comes in really because we needed some backup wide men. The wide midfield position has been this ongoing problem for me in this save in terms of, it seems like every year I have to get in new second choice wingers because the second choice wingers of the previous year are unhappy and want to leave. And that's kind of again the case here. Ernesto Martinez comes into the side. He's very much a winger. You know, he's not got a lot to his game, but he's got pace, he's got work rate, good teamwork, can also whip in a fairly good ball of quality and with good technique. For £2.5 million, I think he's a more than adequate kind of backup player. Anyway, the next player we got in, another kind of backup player, really. This guy, Yuri, can play right midfield as well as centre mid and centre mid defend. He's a good player. We've got him on loan from PSG. Don't think he's going to be playing too much in the first team, if I'm honest, but hopefully he'll get a little bit of first team football here and there. But again, very much kind of signed to be a backup, and I guess the fact he can play it out on the right as well as in centre mid is a very useful kind of player to have. Anyway, the next player, a player perhaps we've overpaid for a little bit, is Jose Maria, who I signed from Benfica, I want to say. Oh no, it was Braga. Okay, well, it was a Portuguese team. I apologise to Braga and Benfica fans who may be watching this. But this guy, Jose Maria, he's a good player. He's Brazilian. And again, just comes in as a bit of backup. Perhaps at £7 million, we've paid quite a lot for a player who I'm kind of looking at and saying out of the gates is going to be a backup, but he's quite a unique player in terms of he can naturally play in the centre of midfield or on either wing, kind of just a fantastic player to have on the bench. He also has really good physicals, that pace and that acceleration, that kind of excites me. When you have a player you want to bring on kind of off the bench onto the pitch, who can play out wide or in the midfield, you want them to add an element of pace, give the tiring players on the opposition team something to worry about, and I do think Jose Maria certainly offers that for us here. Anyway, the next player we have, actually one of 4 Dutch players we signed. Now, you guys will know at the end of last episode, or not the last episode, the episode before last, I talked about the fact I was going to be adding some more playable leagues. And as a result, it does seem like there's been a lot of 16-year-olds generate, and I was able to pick up a few from Holland. So the first guy we've got here is Mitchell Roost. That's probably not how we say his name, but that's how we're going to call him for now. We signed him from Utrecht for £3.6 million. He's a good player. He's a right midfielder, and he is kind of more of a midfielder than a winger. He's quite technically gifted for a young player at 16. We are tutoring him, so hopefully that will sort out his kind of lack of determination. You can see he's currently learning from an experienced player. And he was a player who kind of, when we scouted, he seemed to have a lot of kind of promise. He had good professional personality, and there was quite a lot of fanfare about him from my scouts, so I decided to pick him up. And that's a similar story for the next few players. The next player we have, Denner Boom, or I'm going to call him the Boom, but this guy's 16 years old, again, left winger. This guy, a promising winger, someone who was really kind of flagged up as having some potential from my scouts. I'm hoping they're not wrong, but he has some fairly okay physicals. I wouldn't say they kind of absolutely stand out, but his mentals are well-rounded too. And I think at 16 years old, he's got loads of time to develop. We have some great youth facilities here, and these kind of players are players who I don't necessarily expect to be absolute world beaters, but if they can just develop a little bit in the reserves over the next few years to gain homegrown status, they'll help in Europe, and hopefully a few of them will break into the first team. Anyway, the next player we have here is Boakhorse. This guy, perhaps one of the better of the players we signed. 16 years old, a centre-back. Good acceleration, fairly good ability in the air. Definitely could do with a little bit of improvement in his jumping reach, but at 16 he's still got room to grow. I often get asked a question, actually, which is why do I show my player heights in centimetres and not inches? Now, there's kind of a logical reason behind this. The reason I show it in centimetres is because you're able to more closely monitor a player's growth, because obviously if you're only getting notified every time a player's height increases by an inch, that's a lot less frequently than every time you're getting told they grow by a centimetre. So that's a little thing to note there, and at 16 hopefully he can develop a little bit more jumping reach. But again, he's a good player. He has kind of the core 3 technical attributes that I look for in a kind of centre-back in terms of heading, marking and tackling. His mentals are fairly solid as well, particularly his positioning and decisions. I like that in a player. His anticipation and bravery could perhaps do with a bit of work. But again, he's a promising centre-back. You can see his potential ability. It's a fairly good rating for the senior team. And yeah, hopefully he can continue to develop, and I think he could be a great player for us. Anyway, the most expensive of the young Dutch players we signed in the 4th, another player from Utrecht, was this guy, Jeremy van Berlo. Now, probably the best of the bunch, if I'm honest. He's really well-rounded. He's 16 years old. His birthday's coming up in a few months. Again, he's a promising midfielder. You can see there's quite a lot of potential in this guy, at least in the opinion of my assistant manager. And no, he looks like a good little player for us. His mentors, there's a lot of 9s and 8s here, and at 16 they can all increase by 4 or 5. He's going to be a very good player mentally. His defensive kind of technicals are really impressive as well. He's got 12 positioning, which obviously technically not a technical attribute, but it's a good defensive one to have. But 15 tackling and 11 marking really stand out for me. He's got 10 passing, which is fairly decent. His work rate's good. He's got a good teamwork. I think this guy's going to be a really good deep line playmaker in the future. Certainly a very good defensive midfielder, and it's a position that I've talked about the fact that there aren't that many really good defensive midfielders. who I've kind of come across in this save and gone, I need to get them in. I need to have that rock in the centre mid. This guy looks like the kind of player that hopefully, if he can live up to a little bit of the hype, could become that kind of mainstay rock in the midfield for us over kind of the next few years in the future. Anyway, the last player we brought in, for £2.9 million from River Plate, Bentancur, who's a very good player. He's 19 years old, a little bit older than the other players we brought in. He was transfer listed. I just picked him up for cheap because he looked fairly good, the Argentine. I think he's got something about him. Really like his pace and physicals. If his technicals can improve a little bit, that'd be great. Mentally, perhaps a little bit weak, but a player who I brought in, hopefully we can develop a little bit and maybe sell on for a little bit of money. Anyway, in terms of on the outs, there were a few outs, but none kind of super major. The biggest one, really, what a player who we kind of knew was going, really. John McMaster, going to Benfica for £10.25 million. So a little bit of a loss made on him, but a player who... He did well for us when he played, but obviously with Assad coming into the side last year, Assad was just better than McMaster, simply put. You know, the difference between the players, perhaps it's not that great, but Assad is just such a great technical player, so great in the air as well, really good mentals. John McMaster was only going to be a backup, and he didn't want to be a backup, so I had to try and sell him on for some money while I could. And Benfica came in, bidded 10 million, and that was that, really. Anyway, in terms of other players on the outs, as I mentioned, not kind of loads of major names. You can see a few players leaving, like Camilio went to Troyes AC. A player who we brought in last year, Camilio, as kind of a backup centre mid. There, £1.1 million. He played a little bit, he played okay. We've made a little bit of a loss on his sale, but he wanted more first team football. I don't want to hold a player against his will, especially when it's a player who is very much replaceable and is merely a backup in the side. So we let him go. The other big player really to go was Marcus John, 22 years old, Australian, a player we signed a few years ago now on a free. And as you can see, we got £2.5 million for him. So a nice little bit of money made on him. Of course, he spent last year on AEK Athens in Greece. He had a fairly good time there, and Austria Vine were impressed and decided to come in for him. So we made some money there. Anyway, those are our transfers. So really not too much going on in terms of first team deals. We did spend a fair bit of money. If we just look at our outlay, you can see we spent almost £60 million. We did make £15 million back, so a net spend of £45 million. I forgot to mention, I'll flash it up now. Originally I was going to put this at the start of the episode, but I got the news item for the TV deal. You can see if I remember to put it up on screen, it's £100 million for this year. So again, it's another really big increase on last year. So we've not, although we spent £40 million kind of outlay, our wage budget really, and kind of wage spend hasn't really gone up by that much. If I just show you here, I mean, our wage spending is £925,000 a year. So it's basically, before bonuses, around, the £50 million mark that we are spending on wages. And of course, with £100 million from TV revenue, and additionally, obviously, all the Champions League prize money, Champions League TV money, Rock Cup prize money, we're probably making every year in the region of kind of, I want to say like £120 million. In fact, if I look at last year's income, is there a way to look at the entire income from last year? I mean, you can see the TV revenue last year was £88 million. We obviously sold quite a lot of players last year. I wish there was a way I could just see last year's income. Oh, it's there. I'm blind. Okay, so last year's total income was £184 million. Obviously, that is a massive amount of money. Of course, discarding the kind of £53 million we made in kind of player sales, you're still looking at in excess of £130 million made kind of in terms of the ins after transfers. And if we look at last year's total expenditure, it was £181 million. And of that, we spent £100 million on players. So our outlay last year, kind of kind of transfers, was we spent £80 million and we made £130 million. So there's a big kind of discrepancy there. There's a £50 million profit. It's worth noting that some of that money does get given to the board of directors. But no, we're in a really, really healthy financial position. And obviously, it's kind of become a common trend, really, that we start to get a really good bank balance by January. And so most January transfer windows, we are able to make a really big marquee signing if we want to make one. Anyway, I've gone full-blown accountant mode there. Hopefully you guys understood it. I don't want to go too in details of the finances, but just so you guys kind of know exactly what's going on there. Of course, I mentioned today that we're doing the Pepe Reyes Cup final. Now, there's going to be some people going, Jack, why not the Champions League game? And, well, you can see our first Champions League game is going to be against Porto. That'll be next episode. But the reason we're doing this game is because Gibraltar Lions, they've gone mental. And you're probably thinking, Jack, what do you mean they've gone mental? Well, let me show you. Let me show you. They've spent £72 million on players. They've spent more money than me on players. They've gone mad. They spent £14.5 million on a player from Swansea. I mean, he's quite good. I'll give it to him. He's out for 2 months with a broken toe, which is unlucky. I've just done the worst Lucas impression in the world there. But either way, Gibraltar Lions, they've gone mental. They've signed Jason Darlington here. 24 years old, Welsh international. Who else have they signed? They've signed this guy, Buffet, I don't know. He's a striker. He looks very good technically, though. They signed him for £5.25 million. Dominic O'Brien, crazy box-to-box kind of midfielder, amazing physicals. Maybe not box-to-box, his technicals are kind of weak, but in terms of his physicals, he can get around the pitch. He's 23. They've just signed him because they can. They've actually gone mad. They've got Svoboda here. Again, another striker. They've signed 3 strikers for some reason. I don't really understand that, but there you go. Who else have they signed for big money? They've got this guy, Wistina. I don't know. We'll call you Geordie. That's simple enough. But Swedish, really good centre-back. They've gone mad. They've actually gone mad. And I'm kind of a little bit scared of where this could be going in the future. They've also signed Leo Marie to be a first-choice goalkeeper. So, basically, Gibraltar Lions actually now have a semi-competent squad, and I do think they could end up giving us a good game. And so I felt like we'd give them a run for their money. We'd give them a test with all their new players to just see how good they are. But yeah, they've got some good players now. They've really built a really good squad. They are, of course, playing in the Europa League group stage. Another team who's actually playing in the Europa League group stage as well, which is certainly worth noting, is College Europa, who themselves have kind of always been kind of the third best team in Gibraltar. You can see for the last 4 years they've finished third. They've kind of established themselves as that kind of team that trails ourselves and Gibraltar Lions. And if we look at their player signings, yes, they're not, spending £70 million. Don't forget they are making £100 million every year in TV money, so they have got a lot of money rolling in the bank. But they're starting to buy in foreign players from abroad. They've got this guy, Ndiaye, who looks like a good little Senegalese deep line playmaker. They've got here Isaiah Santos, who they signed. Who was another big player they signed? They signed this guy, Yeray Martel. Again, looks like a fairly good right back. They're kind of, I want to say they're Gibraltar Lions a few years ago, but I mean, it's going to be getting really competitive over the next few years. And if we look here, College Europa, estimated value £225 million. We're only worth £185 million because of these teams not spending all the money they're getting in TV revenue, etc. They're worth more than me. And actually, it's getting to the stage now, this is kind of funny, where if we go on the world screen and look at club finances, yes, you have the usual suspects, at the top, United worth £1.5 billion. But if you scroll down to 40th, Magpies are worth £235 million. And actually, there's a load of Gibraltarian teams here. Gibraltar is kind of climbing up the financial rankings. We're 54th, which is pretty good in itself. But yeah, Magpies, Manchester 62, College Europa. These teams, they're worth more than Middlesbrough and Stoke and West Ham and Shakhtar. I mean, it looks a little bit bizarre, and I don't know how long this is going to continue, because obviously they're going to keep getting money in some of these teams until the league rep suddenly takes a massive jump, which it may well do this year, with having some really good teams competing in Europe. I mean, these teams could continue to make a lot of money, because if we look at Magpies here, then they're not doing a lot with their money. I mean, they signed one of our players and kind of sniped him from us for £200,000, kind of approach to sign. But, I mean, they're going to have so much money. And suddenly, when the league does hit this kind of critical point where all these teams can attract players, they're going to go mad. They're going to go Gibraltar Lions mad. And I'm kind of looking forward to it, in a way. Either way, as I mentioned, today is going to be the Pepe Reyes Cup. Let's get into it. We've already been going for 18 minutes. We want to see some football in action. Let's see what we can do. So this is our 101st meeting with Gibraltar Lions. We've met them 100 times before. We've won 94 times. We've drawn 4 times, and they've won twice. Okay, I'll give them credit. They've won twice. We are playing at the Space Park. Let's see what we can do. In terms of the team, a little bit of team news. Mosca's actually out for the start of the year with a strained stomach muscle, which is a little bit of an annoyance. It doesn't matter too much as Guendouzi is just going to come into the side, of course. Guendouzi, really good player, the 20-year-old Belgium. And I haven't talked much about this, but it's worth noting that last summer, the 2034 summer, was a World Cup summer. And some of our players did really well, and particularly Sebastian Girard, the Belgian. If we just look at his kind of career achievements here, he won the best young player at the World Cup and got 4th at the World Cup. I know a few people have asked actually over time, Jack, who won the World Cups and stuff? You can see here who won them. So Argentina won 2018, Italy won 2022, Russia surprise winners in 2026, Brazil in 2030, and Spain won it just last year. On the flip side, if we I'll show the European Championships. I know people have been asking about this, and I've not done it ever, so we'll have a quick look. What do I want to go on here? I want to go on European Cup past winners. Where is that? Where? Let's just click Spain. Click Spain, and then go to their past fixtures. I don't want the friendly league. Damn it! Right, let's find this. Find it. Right, here we go. Where am I going here? I'm lost, right. So, in the Euros, how did they do? Well, France won it in 2032, Germany won it in 2028, Portugal in 2024, Spain in 2020, Croatia in 26. I mean, fair play, Croatia. You've done better than I expected you to do there. I think with the exception of Croatia, it's kind of pretty predictable teams winning it. But there you go. I know some people asked, so I've delivered now. Anyway, going back to our squad. We have got a few injuries. As I mentioned, Mosca going to miss the start of the year with a strained stomach muscle. Out for only 2 more weeks. That's not too bad. Gilvan also out. He got a groin strain in pre-season. Out for 2 to 3 weeks. They're going to miss, again, the start of the season. But the 23-year-old, I feel like he's been really unfortunate with injuries, to be fair. You can see he's had a few fairly lengthy ones, especially in the last few years. I'm hoping he can put them behind him. I don't even know if he's considered injury prone. I don't think he is. I think he's just got really unlucky. Either way, hopefully he can get a good stint of games going at some point this year and kind of get back to his best. In terms of the team, it's kind of picking itself, it seems like here. We've got Ludwig Young in goal, Assad and Mostafa at centre-back, of course, kind of the usual centre-backs at this point. I feel like it's worth noting Ramadan Mustafa. I want him to get 20 heading just so he has 20 in jumping and heading, but at 25, this guy, monster in the air, of course. Gaiganov at right back. Not a lot to say about him. He's declined a little bit over the summer. Hopefully, just getting some first team football is going to help there. Cabasele out on the left, doing very well. Of course, he was representing Belgium at the World Cup where they finished 4th. In the centre midfield, we go with Joe Bouchard. Junior playing the centre mid-defend role. Again, I know this is a position and role people have been going on about in the comments and stuff, saying, Jack, you need to get that better centre defensive mid. As I mentioned, it is a bit of a problem position. Really, I was hoping to bring in Mini Mosca, and for him to be that player would kind of be that rock in the centre mid position for us. Of course, he was out for most of last year with a broken leg, which really did hurt him. But he's back now, and he will get time to play that kind of centre mid-defend role. It's worth noting as well, he is now playing for the Spanish under-21 side. If we look at his nationalities, of course, he did play for a long time for Brazil. He has now kind of switched allegiances. I'm still secretly hoping inside that in the next kind of 2.5 years he might decide he wants to play for Gibraltar. Anyway, the Romanian playmaker role, we've got Krzysztof Wolski. At centre attacking mid, we have Sebastian Girard, of course. Up top, we go with Paul Smith and Guendouzi. Part of me wants to play Paul Smith as the Trek, actually, and maybe play Girard there. I think that's what we're going to do. Yeah, we'll do that. So I'm going to play Sebastian Girard at complete forward, Paul Smith playing trequartista, and then Guendouzi, of course, another Belgian player, playing alongside Girard. It's kind of nice to have 2 national team partners playing alongside each other. Anyway, on the bench we've got Graf Wright, Palermo, Mini Mosca, JJ, Rildo. Mosca can't play in this game because, of course, he's injured. So we will bring in... Who do I want to bring in? We'll bring in Tuzon. Why not? Aaron Tuzon on the bench for us right there. Anyway, apparently I selected a sub outside the match squad. Of course, you only have 5 subs in this competition, so we won't have 2s on at all. I'm a liar. But regardless, we've got a pretty strong team there. We are, of course, favourites for this game, but Gibraltar Lions, as I mentioned, they've spent £70 million. There is going to be an air of expectation from their fans to kind of win this game and certainly, give us a good game. It's getting to the stage now where I feel like if they don't start to be successful against the Gibraltar Lions, might start going through managers very, very quickly. They've been quite loyal with their managers, I feel like. And I think a big reason behind that's been they've always been kind of second to us. So it's kind of been just their main aim for the manager of Gibraltar Lions to get second place. But I feel like when you're spending £70 million a year, the chairman probably expects you to at least challenge at the top of the table and really give us a good game. Anyway, we're on the attack here. Cabasele whips it in. Ball cleared away. Junior, can he shoot? Lays it off to Wolski. Gaiganov, can he cross the ball in? Can he get the ball in? He does. Girard cleared away. Bouchard's there. Guendouzi blocked off the line. A nice little block there, to be fair, by the Gibraltar Lions player. And the header from the corner there going sailing over. In fact, it was a defensive header, so we might have another chance here. No, just kicked out into touch, booted away by Gibraltar Lions. But early on, we're exerting some good dominance. Worth noting, however, despite having that one clear-cut chance, Gibraltar Lions with 2 half chances of their own. So certainly, despite our kind of dominance in possession and in terms of shots, Gibraltar Lions perhaps looking to hit us on the break a little bit, and they have actually got the ball here, bringing it forward. Nice tackle, though, by Mustafa. Now Junior to bring away the play. Gerard up to Guendouzi. Can he finish it? That looked like a foul to me. It's not been given. We do still have the ball, though. Volsky to Cabasele out on the left. Tries to cut it inside, and that is a penalty now. Badara Sal, who is a new signing for them, on his debut, giving away a penalty. Perhaps not how he envisaged his debut for Gibraltar Lions. Gerard with a chance to score from the spot, and he does score it. 33 minutes gone. We get that deserved goal. And you'd have to say it's been coming in this game so far. I feel like we're playing this narrower system. It works quite well for us, and it's working quite well here at the moment, at least. Gibraltar Lions definitely looking outmatched, and well, yes, the goal has come from a penalty. It's definitely been coming, and it's always good to see Sebastian Gerard get on the kind of goal scoring sheet. Of course, as I mentioned, had a fantastic summer at the World Cup. I didn't play him too much during our pre-season friendlies. I kind of rested him a little bit because he had played a lot of football in the summer. And it's good to see him doing well. Either way, Cabasele has now got injured. We've got a change to make, and Palermo is going to be coming into the side. Of course, Walter Palermo, a player I don't talk about that much, I don't feel like. But this guy, he's been at the club a number of years, the Argentine. He's a very good player in terms of just as a centre-back, backup option. But the fact he can play left-back is a nice little bonus. Of course, we signed him for £5.25 million, which upon reflection is a fairly hefty fee. But no, he's doing okay for us, and he is actually getting towards being eligible for Gibraltar's national team. So that's something perhaps to look forward to there. And, in this game, he's going to get a chance to show us what he can do as well. At half-time, it's only 1-0. It certainly isn't the dominance kind of that we've had in the past. I'm going to tell the players I'm happy with their performances. A really good reaction there by the entire side. Hopefully we can just have more of the same in the second half, score a few more goals. Of course, with Porto in the Champions League being our opening game, that's going to be a big game for us. The other teams in our group in the Champions League are Copenhagen and Everton. We are the number 2 seeds in the group for the first time ever, so that's something to look forward to. It's given us perhaps a slightly kinder draw, and I'm pretty optimistic of our chances of hopefully progressing to the knockout stages and doing a little bit better than last year, where we had some real disappointment. And I'll tell you, the definition of disappointment in this game has been Sal, the number 5 for Gibraltar Lions. The new centre-back on his debut. I don't know what he's doing here. Volsky kicks forward the ball. Sal, I mean, it's a fantastic header, and Guendouzi just says thank you very much. He lashes that in to the roof of the net. Thank you very much. He dabs as he runs towards the crowd. Can we score again now? Gerard, it's a set piece. It's easy. That's probably game over now. Sebastian Gerard, his second goal of the game. 2 in very quick succession here in the second half. Gibraltar Lions look like they're crumbling. Joe Bouchard, fantastic free kick from deep. Gerard leaps like a salmon. Who was that who didn't go for the ball? It was Adam. For a second I thought it was Sal again making a mistake. It wasn't this time, to be fair. And 3-0 now, that should be game over. I was hoping Gibraltar Lions were going to give us more of a game. And to be fair, they've certainly have been competitive in this game. They have had their fair share of shots, they've had their fair share of chances. But they've not created a lot of clear-cut stuff, and I think it's fair to say that we've done very well in this game. Anyway, JJ is going to come on for Volsky, struggling a little bit for fitness. Mustafa also just looking a little bit jaded. Might as well take him off, just kind of play it safe. There is literally no point in me keeping on players in this kind of game where we're 3-0 up. We've got a Champions League game in less than a week, and we've been given another penalty, and it's going to be Sebastian Gerard to score a hat-trick, perhaps. His second penalty of the game, the number 11, the Belgium. Young Player of the Year at the World Cup. Can he get a goal here? He can't. It's actually saved by Marie in goal. And, Gibraltar Lions, they're being party poopers right now. Gerard with a chance at a hat-trick, chokes it, ruins his opportunity. And, that could be all she's wrote for this game. It will be all she's wrote. Gerard perhaps going to be a little bit full of regret. And, JJ there just giving the ball away needlessly to end the game. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Joe Bouchard, man of the match performance by him, did really, really well. Definitely didn't look like we were missing Mosca, which is a good sign, of course. As I mentioned, he's out for a few weeks, which does mean he is going to miss that Porto game in the Champions League group stage, which could certainly be a big game for us. Cabasele's out with a sprained ankle for 5 to 6 weeks, so we're going to have a little bit of a dilemma there. That said, we've still got Graffite, the left-back, Graffite, who can definitely slot in a left-back. I prefer this guy as a left-back to Palermo, but Palermo, the fact he can play centre-back is kind of nice. So no, we've got this guy who's going to slot straight into the side, so I'm not too worried about that Cabasele injury. Obviously, he is a big miss for us, but we've got a player who I do feel like can step into the shoes of him at least. Anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up this episode 138 of the Rise to Glory. As I mentioned, next episode will be the game against FC Porto in the Champions League. Hopefully I'll see you guys for that one. As always, if you have enjoyed this video, smash the like button. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.